All right, so last class, and in just our previous, or just now for homework, our homework check, or not homework check, but taking up homework, we looked at finding the sides of a right angle triangle. Today we're going to find the inside, the angles inside a right angle triangle. And the best part is that pretty much all the steps are the same, except for the very, very end. And so in my first example here, I want to find the unknown angle, which again I call theta. All right, which is some Greek letter. And we have two sides given. All right, so our steps, just like before, as I mentioned, are going to be the same. And so the first one is write out the given information. So you got to figure out what you have. Now, again, we're trying to find the angle here. So I'm going to put theta equals a question mark. That's what we're trying to figure out. But what we have to determine, again, is we have two sides. I have to determine which sides we actually have. Because, again, in trigonometry, your sides are labeled. We have three of them because it's a triangle. We have the hypotenuse, we have the opposite, and we have the adjacent. All right, so when I look on this diagram, first off, I, again, always look at across from the right angle is my hypotenuse. I don't have that, so it looks like I got the other ones. All right, and the side across from the angle we're looking from is the opposite. So it looks like in this case, our opposite is 82. Now, the side beside the angle is the adjacent, because that's what adjacent means, beside. So there's our first step. We've written out the given information. We know what we're looking for and what sides we actually have. Now, the second step is, as it was before, determine which trig ratio must be used. Again, I can't stress that enough, that must. You do not get to pick which one you want to use out of sine, cos, and tan. The given information tells you which one you have to use. So again, that's where I use my memory phrases: sine on highway, cozy at home, tan on arms. See which one I need. So tan, sine on highway, on, missing the H, highway. The next one, cozy at home. Cozy at, again, missing the H for home. Well, let's see if the last one, or if I messed up or not. The last one, tan on arms. Tan on arms. There we go. I got my O and my A. So the tan ratio is what we're going to be using. So I have tan theta on arms. So I have my opposite divided by my adjacent. All right. So now we've got the tan, or the ratio that we have to use. Well, the same step as number 3, only it's going to be done differently, is that we're going to sub in the info, the information we have, and solve for not x, because we're not finding sides this time, but theta, because we're looking for our angle. All right, so here we go. Tan theta is equal to, let's see, we have the opposite divided by the adjacent. The opposite is 82. Make sure I get things in the right order here. And the adjacent is my 45. All right, so now I want to find theta. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is take my 82 and divide it by 45. And let's see here on my calculator, I take that. 82 divided by 45, and I get 1.82. All right, now this is where the ending, even though our steps are the same, this is where our ending's different. Is that I have the decimal, I want the angle. Usually before, when we were solving for sides, we had the angle and we got the decimal, the number. Well, we're working in the opposite direction. So on our calculator, we're going to have to use tan inverse, or I call it tan reverse, because we're going the opposite way. So on your calculator, you'll usually have a second function button, or like an orange button or a green button. It's usually a different color. You have to hit it first, then tan. So you get the tan inverse. Then you put in your 1.82, and then you get your angle. And again, your calculator has to be in degree mode. So it has to have a little DEG, DRG, a little D. What you don't want to have is an R, a G, RAD, GRAD. Because what can happen is if your calculator's in the wrong mode, you can press all the right numbers and get all the wrong answers just because it's in the wrong mode. All right, so in my case, I got my calculator in the right mode, and when I press it in, I get 61.24 degrees. There we go. So for those of you who are using your cell phone as a calculator, you'll have to turn it sideways, and then there's a little second button there to use for tan inverse, or I call it tan reverse because we're going the opposite way. All right, so let's try a few more examples. So here we go, example number 2. Again, we are going to find theta, the angle. So again, I'm going to follow my steps. First step is write out my given information. Well, the easiest part is that, hey, I'm trying to find that theta. So there's a question mark. And now it's the sides. Which sides do I have, right? Because again, we have the hypotenuse, the opposite, and the adjacent. And again, the easy one for me to find is always the right angle, the side across from the right angle, because that's your hypotenuse. And it looks like 45 is my hypotenuse. All right, and then there's always the side across from the angle we're looking from. And that's your opposite. So it looks like I got that one too. All right, so there's step 1 done. I've written out my given information. Now we get to the second step. Which trig ratio do I have to use? So again, sine on highway. On highway. Hey, it is the sine ratio because I have that O and the H. So I'm going to write down my sine ratio. I get sine theta is equal to the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. All right, so now I get to my third step, substituting in and figuring, then solving for theta this time. All right, so I have a sine theta. Let's see here. My opposite is 30. Make sure I get things, it's on the top. Make sure I get things in the right order here. And my hypotenuse, which is going to the bottom there, is 45. All right, so now what I can do is simplify 30 over 45. Again, a fraction is just a divided by question. It's not done yet. And so I get 30 divided by 45, which is going to equal sine theta here. And let's see here. I end up with 0.67. All right, so now again we have the decimal, we want the angle. So then again, this is when my calculator, I'm going to press second function, the little blue button on my calculator, sine, and then I'm going to put in 0.67. So I'm going to use sine reverse this time. And again, if your calculator's in the right mode, you should end up with 41.81 degrees. There we go. So again, all the steps are the same as what we did the other day. Ending, just the ending's a little bit different. It's actually easier if you got your calculator in the right mode and you're able to do it. All right, last one here. A little bit of a triangle that's fallen down here, but again, I'm going to write out my given information, and of course, I am looking for theta. All right, now figure out what sides we got. Again, I'm going to be looking for the side across from my right angle because I know that's the hypotenuse, and it looks like I have it. All right, but then I still have that 62 side. So again, the side across from my angle is the opposite. I don't have that. All right, it's blank over here. But I do have the 62, which is beside my angle. That's the side beside my angle, so that is my adjacent. All right, step 2. What trig ratio do I have to use? Sine on, I don't even have an O. Home, I do have the H, I don't have the O. Cozy at home. Hey, there we go. I got my A and my H. Cozy at home. So I'll be using the cosine ratio. So I have cos theta. Again, cozy at home, adjacent, divided by the hypotenuse. All right, so there's my second step done. Now I'm going to be looking at substituting in. So I have my cos theta. Let's see here. My adjacent's on the top, so that's my 62. And then my hypotenuse is on the bottom, so that's my 150. All right, so now just simplifying things here. So I have my cos theta. I'm going to find out what 62 divided by 150 is. Just give me a second. 62 divided by 150. I get 0.41. All right, now again, this is where the ending's different. I've got the decimal, the number. I need the angle, so I'm going the opposite way. So this time, because I've got the cos ratio, I'm going to use cos reverse or cos inverse. And so let's see here. So I hit my second function button. The cos, I get my cos inverse on there. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but there it is. And then I put in the 0.41. And I ended up with 2 decimal places, 65.8 degrees. So again, if you were able to do the last class's work where we looked at finding the length of a side of a triangle, again, the steps are same here, where we're finding our given information, writing it down, all right? Then figuring out what trig ratio we have to use, and then, of course, substituting into our formula, or I guess our equation. And then again, just the end is different, where you have to be able to work your calculator and be able to figure out the inverse or the reverse of each of the ratios. All right.